I was born outside of Chicago, but my parents moved my sister, who's 2 years older, and I to like Silicon Valley area in the 80s because there was jobs in computers there at that time. So I actually spent the first 10-ish years of my life in Southern California. And then my parents decided to divorce. And my mother took my sister and I way up to northern Wisconsin to like very Republican North Woods, Wisconsin, which was an incredible culture shock. And then that's where really my kind of all kinds of things happened at that time. I was 10 years old and I kind of came out and realized that I was queer. I continued to be a very boyish gal in a small town. And that was a huge challenge. I ended up getting into all kinds of trouble and being very naughty and drugs and drinking and alcohol and the whole bit, bad decisions, which actually gave me the opportunity to press fast forward on high school and finish it early. So I actually graduated from high school, super interested in art. Most of my classes were art classes. I was in, I had an individual education plan because I was considered an at-risk youth. So, would FL have a future with a high school diploma or wouldn't they? It was a question. But I did end up graduating. I graduated early and I got into an art school in Philadelphia where I studied art and at a 4-year women's college. And then I transferred to a more serious and even smaller co-ed art school. And that's when I realized I didn't want to be an artist. I learned a lot, but I couldn't see the career path. My friends who had graduated were waiting tables, right? And I didn't want to teach it. And I just couldn't see how continuing to take out loans and spend money on this type of education was like a good life path. So I looked for something. I took my interest, what was practical. I really liked working with wood. I loved being in the shop. I ended up looking all across the country for a woman to apprentice under that was a cabinet maker, furniture maker, or something with wood. And I didn't find anyone. So I just moved back to near where my mother was and some friends from high school, which landed me in Madison. And I'll get to your question. I didn't forget it. But it landed me in Madison and I'm looking at the Isthmus newspaper. What am I going to do with my life? I need something. And that's when I found an ad that said something, vegetable farm apprenticeship, which the word apprenticeship was really kind of key to me at that point, because that's what I had in my mind, that I wasn't getting done educated and that I wanted some hands-on learning, even though I wasn't looking for farming apprenticeship or internship is the word that he used. But so the offer was learn organic vegetable farming, $300 a month stipend. And this was in 2004. I didn't have a lot of responsibilities or debt at that time. I don't even know if I had a cell phone yet. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to call this guy. And as it turned out, we got along really well. And, I didn't even have a driver's license at that point. I had to get a driver's license in order to take that farm job, which was in Stoughton, Wisconsin, just 20 minutes from Madison. So I ended up working at Pleasant Hill Market Garden and had no clue what I was getting into. I just liked vegetables and was a vegetarian. And actually that year converted to a vegan, which is kind of funny because, 10 years later, I raised a lot of livestock, but it's part of the story. So in the end, what I realized, here's answering your question after all the background, is farming is a super creative, sensory, colorful thing to do, right? It's multitasking. It's multiple skill sets, including working with wood. And it's just the variety of weather and the season changing. You're never doing anything too much, right? On a small scale farm, you're working on one thing and then 3 weeks later you phase out of that and you have a new trajectory, right? It was varied. It's beautiful. I felt like tough, like I was getting through all this weather, and I liked all the gear, the rain boots and and the food was amazing. It transformed my life. I had never eaten so many vegetables. I didn't even know what half of the vegetables are. I did not know, you know, up from down or sideways about what I was doing. I was just kind of doing what I was told, and I really enjoyed it, and it hooked me.